Hey guys, Tony Rowe here, back with another lead chess rapid game against Sharpness-V, 22-20. And, ooh, last game I lost to this guy. It was a 15-2 game. Okay, well, it's revenge time. And the only way to extract revenge is to bore the hell out of him with the Rubinstein French. A guy named Sharpness should be not so pleased about playing the Ruby French. I've been experimenting with e4, e6, and d4, e6. Mostly just for fun. Every once in a while when you feel your sort of game stagnating, I like to mess around with other openings that I haven't played in a long time, or I haven't played period, and kind of just speculate a little bit, just have kind of a little bit of fun. I'm playing like absolute crap lately. I can't show you my rating graph, but it is positively awful for Blitz. I was 2,400 like 2 weeks ago, and I tanked down to 2,200. And I'm slowly building my way back up. But it hurts. Yeah, bishop h4. Now, is bishop e7 the move? Bishop e7, knight f6. Okay, I think this is a move. I'm not sure if c5 is correct first. I haven't studied that much of the French Rubinstein. Some lines I know pretty deep because I've been studying it, but this bishop g5 line is one that I have not studied all that much yet. The most popular move on move 6 for white is to take on f6 check, knight takes f6, and then there are a whole bunch of moves. c3, bishop d3, then bishop g5, I think knight e5, bishop c4, those are all moves. But I haven't studied, on this move, I haven't studied bishop d3 or bishop g5 in any real detail, so we'll figure it out as we go along. This move can't be bad. I do have a pretty concrete threat here. So he doesn't want to take. So knight e4, bishop e7 is forced, bishop takes e4, knight f6. So the line I'm looking at is knight e4, bishop e7, queen e7, bishop e4, knight f6. I'm guessing he has to go back to d3. Then maybe probably castles first. Castles, b6 with c5 and bishop b7 and all that jazz coming. I wonder if that's acceptable for me. So knight e4, bishop d3, bishop e7. Knight e4, bishop e7, queen e7, bishop d3. Actually, maybe I have queen b4 check in that position. c3, queen takes b2, queen d2, queen takes b2, castles. Well, knight e4 is the move I'm playing. Almost guaranteed anyway, so let's do that first. And now do I really want to launch into this nonsense? I think queen d2 is probably forced. After c3, queen b2, then white has to deal with the weakness on c3 as well. So queen b4, queen d2, queen takes b2, castles. Let's just say castles. Rook b1, queen a2, bishop b7. Maybe castles is actually not correct because it allows rook b1. So after queen b4 check, queen d2, queen takes b2, castles, maybe I have to play something else. Maybe I could go like queen b6, rook b1, queen a6, protecting the pawn, but this looks a little bit dicey. Well, I can also flick in knight f6 first. Okay, so let's play knight f6. unravel my development a little bit. Force him to play bishop d3. I wonder if that's what I was looking at originally. I can't even remember. Because queen b4 check is possible before and after knight f6. But let's flick in knight f6 first. Maybe you could also consider this French defense game a tribute to Victor the Terrible. May he rest in peace. An absolute legend, and totally sad that he passed away today. Okay, so I'm wondering if now I can grab this thing. So if check, maybe he can go c3, queen b2, castles, but then takes, queen c3. So if here, maybe he wants to go knight d2. I'm having a hard time believing queen d2. It seems, or queen d3. It seems suspicious. Text messages. So queen b4 check. Now c3, queen b2. There is rook b1 in that case now. And after queen a2, I wonder if there's queen b5 checks, c6, bishop takes c6. Okay, I'm just going to take this thing. I like bishops, and I think I'm going to play this check now. I'm having a hard time believing that this pawn sacrifice is good with such limited material on the board, but this bishop does completely suck, and b7 is a little loose. Whoops. Yeah, there we go. So I will have to kind of figure out how to deal with those issues. And they are issues, but I think in the long term maybe I can swing my queen back around, maybe play c6. We'll give this a whirl. I think white should castle here. There isn't much else, I don't think. I don't think he really wants to allow this. I mean, I guess I just don't see another move. I'm hitting his rook, and rook b1, queen c3 is probably not that pleasant. Okay, so do I take on c3 now? Just be a total savage. I'm a little bit worried about rook f to c1. So queen c3, rook f to c1, queen a5, guarding c7 still. What is there? Knight e5, castles. Yeah, I'm not really certain. Intuitively, it feels like this might be going a little too far. But I wonder if rook c5, queen b6. Yeah, I don't like this. I don't like this very much. Knight e5, c4 at some point seems kind of annoying, and I think probably white's going to win the c-pawn back in that case anyway. So let's just castle. If rook a to b1, I probably will take on a2 because it gives me the nice d5 square to retreat to, and somehow it doesn't feel like the open a file is as relevant. So that second pawn I probably will take, but I doubt he's going to play rook a to b1. Something like knight e5 makes a lot of sense, just stopping bishop d7. Though I'm not even sure bishop d7 is really all that good yet. Then maybe bishop, I mean, if it were my turn, bishop d7, rook f to b1 would, I think, pick up this b pawn. But maybe in that case I have bishop c6, because queen c6, queen takes b1 check. Yeah, so it's possible knight e5 is the most precise here to just stop bishop d7 to c6. Yeah, and he plays it. So how am I getting my dudes out here? it's not actually all that easy to see how I'm doing that. I wonder about rook b8. So rook b8, just anticipating some rook coming to the b file and harassing my queen, overprotecting b7, and I'm also looking sometime in the future to go b6, bishop b7. Right now, b6 is not possible. Okay, so let's actually play that, because the bishop's prospects on this diagonal seem quite limited at the moment. So I'm up a pawn, but I'm suffering a little bit for it. But that's all right. This is a Victor Korchnoi tribute game, and if there's one thing we all know about Victor the Terrible is that he would take basically almost anything and suffer for it. So in many ways, that's probably a reflection of his really tough formative years. And you know, like when you have life problems, just think about like Korchnoi defecting from communist Russia and having to like leave his wife and kid behind, and his son was imprisoned, and just, I mean, you know, holy crap. Those are life issues that probably the vast majority of people that are watching my channel, if you have the luxury to watch chess on YouTube, you probably don't have problems of that magnitude in your life. I know I certainly don't, so. Okay, f4. Yeah, that's an idea. f5 is not particularly a threat, but I guess rook f3 to g3 is probably going to be irritating at some point. Maybe I should take this now. His position is a little bit more loose now. That's the only reason I suggest taking this, and also taking this prevents rook f3 for a second because of here. I guess taking this rook a to c1 would kind of keep everything together for white for a second, but I wonder if c5 also is intriguing. D takes c5, then queen takes c3. If b6 now, b6, knight c6, bishop b7 seems fine. And if rook a, b1, b6, rook a to b1. Probably queen a2, but maybe even queen a3 to e7 or d6 is possible. Yeah, probably that's even better, because if b6, rook a to b1, queen a2, there's actually rook a1, and queen d5, then maybe there's queen d5, rook a7, which is a little bit irritating, perhaps. Okay, so I'm going to go b6. Yeah, for a guy who has a propensity with time trouble, probably grabbing the pawn and then trying to survive is not a legitimate strategy for me, but that's okay. Again, like I said, every once in a while you have to dabble. I'm starting to like my chances a little bit. And actually, one thing I didn't really even consider is that f4 is actually, against the plan of me putting a bishop on b7, is very bad. Because now the threats start mounting on g2 a little bit. Really earlier than they should have. Maybe rook a to b1 is almost like forced in this case, because bishop b7 otherwise is going to be kind of annoying. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, rook f2, queen a1, of course. Rook a to b1, queen a3, I think, is probably the move. Now that b6 blocks the queen on a5 from protecting c7, probably rook a to b1, queen c3, rook f to c1 is like sort of out of the question. There's queen a3, but I don't really want to allow rook c7. It doesn't seem right to trade this pawn for this pawn and give white rook c7 for nothing, so probably I'll leave this pawn on c3 for now. It'll be interesting to see what black is really supposed to play after. Somehow bishop d3 to me feels a little bit wrong, but I could be wrong on that. So queen d3. So there are some forks lurking on, you know, with knight d7, but after bishop b7, I am threatening mate on g2. So he'll probably have to go queen g3. And then maybe I can just play something like rook a to d8. Maybe even rook a to c8, preparing c5 and also protecting c7 in the event that I wanted to take on. And bishop b7, f5 is possible, but so bishop b7, queen g3 is, and f5 soon as possible is what I meant. So what if like rook a to c, b to c8 there, f5. Takes. I guess I can take. Okay, well, I think I'm pretty much playing queen to b7 no matter what, so. And queen to h3. Okay, I mean, that's a move. This square doesn't feel as good to me as g3, but to each his own. So now if I play rook b to d8, is rook d4 a threat? No, not really. Is something really audacious like rook b to e8 good? And if f5, e takes f5, rook takes f5, f6? Trying to get on this open e file after e takes f5. No, that move is dumb. Knight d7. Okay. Knight d7 is still a threat. So if I go rook b to c8, does knight d7 do anything? I was wondering for a second. In chess, it's weird. Sometimes you forget why you're doing things. Like, I literally just forgot why I was considering just moves of this rook specifically. But then I realized that knight d7 is a threat. Okay, so I get it. Okay, I'm going to play rook b to c8. This rook seems like it's going to be well placed on the f file already, so I don't really want to move that rook. And even if I do, probably the d file is the right place to go. So putting this rook on the c file makes a little bit more sense to me. And also, like I said, just covering the c pawn seems relevant if I, you know, if this thing ever leaves and I decide to take here. But I think I need to get active now before white just, I mean, if I just, you know, turtle up and give white a lot of time, he's going to get a lot of counterplay based on, you know, swinging literally every piece he owns over to the king side. And then my pawn isn't going to feel all that relevant. So I think I need to strike in the center while I can and harass him while I can and try and, you know, the classic sort of reaction to a kingside counterplay is action in the center and trying to destabilize the position. The more stable the position is and the more I give white time and freedom to organize his kingside, the better his chances are going to be... Ah, okay. So if d takes c5, rook takes c5, knight d7, I have rook c3, so... Of course, I don't want to play b takes c5. Here, that would lose a piece even after rook b1, but in general, that's not a move I really want to play. He can play rook f2 here, and then where am I putting my queen? a3 or b5? Probably b5. Although b5 is not the greatest square I've ever seen. Although neither is a3, so... Does queen b5 allow c4? Whoops. Probably that's not a big deal. I guess queen a5. Hits the rook, hits the a pawn. Gonna get in c takes d4, so probably that's okay. It would be nice if white just, you know, kind of forgot that g2 was hanging and just played something like queen h5 or queen h4 here. I'm starting to get a little nervous about the kingside attack here. I'm not a huge fan of having my king having all of these pieces hanging out by this guy who currently has 0 protectors. But we'll deal with it. The Cavs suck. There is that. Everyone in Cleveland is just really salty right now. Lot of smarmy attitudes. Just people are not doing well. It's one thing to lose. It's another thing to lose to the friggin' Golden State Warriors 2 years in a row. It's just harsh, man. Queen b5. All right. I realized at the last minute that it might be possible to play d takes c5, rook takes c5, and then knight d3 with this fork instead. Oh, I'll have to look at that after the game. So f5. Yeah, it's getting a little scary. Sort of feels like I have to take it. I don't see much else. Allowing him to take would be essentially fatal. I could contemplate something like bishop d5, but it seems a little artificial, so I think I'm going to have to take it. The threats aren't mounting yet. I mean, my kingside structure is relatively solid. Ooh, that way. I didn't think he was going to take that way. I assumed he would take with the rook. Does he have any concrete threats? Not yet. Okay, so takes probably. Pseudo-pinning this knight with my queen, and also maybe allowing something like queen d5. Just giving him a weak pawn is a good idea in general. I really want to play f6, but of course knight g6 is probably... You have to kind of resist the temptation to buckle under like the pressure here and make some weakening move, I think. I guess I can go queen d5, or should I go bishop d5, bishop e6? I like queen d5 because it also ties down this rook, but putting the bishop on d5 somehow aesthetically feels nice to me. Just going bishop e6 and queen d5 and refusing to give him any play against f7 whatsoever. I'm going to play bishop d5, I think. It looks odd. Maybe it is odd. Maybe it's just bad. But queen d5 also looks pretty good. This could be one of those cases where I would have spent like 20 minutes on that move trying to debate the merits with myself, but in this case, I'm just not going to do that. Okay, so, yeah. So bishop e6 now, and then queen d5. My thought is that if I just defend f7, he'll eventually run out of threats and I can get these things going. Or I can work up some counterplay, you know, along the c-file somehow, or against this weak d pawn. I don't think he wants to go queen e4 because queen d5 would just gain an obvious tempo. Maybe queen h5. keep the threats on f7. Queen e4 anyway. Okay, well, I would love to trade queens here. At some point now, I mean, if the queens come off, I'll feel pretty comfortable going f6 at some point. Because knight g6, rook f to e8, stopping knight e7, and I think eventually I'll be able to boot this knight and then start turning the screws and start putting my extra pawn to good use. I don't think it's a good idea to trade queens. I mean, he's down material, and he's got some structural issues, I think, and bishop versus knight. Besides the pressure on the f-file, this endgame is probably just completely lost for him, so going queen takes d5 makes very little sense, I think. Yeah, that's probably for the best. Can I be unbelievably greedy here and go rook f to d8? Probably that's not a good idea. Rook c7 maybe? Just like one last kind of preparatory move. Could go rook a to d8, I guess. Rook c7 seems extremely natural to me. So just a little bit more prophylaxis. It also maybe gets ready to double on the c-file at some point. Guards the e7 square in the case that I decide to go knight e7, or f6, knight g6, etc. I don't have to watch out for knight e7 anymore. If he ever goes knight g4, I think I'm just going to take it. Actually, yeah, I was about to say knight g4, queen d4, but then knight h6 would lose a queen, so. Rook f3. He clearly wants to go rook g3. It's a good cause. Not the worst idea. Is rook f d8 right on time? Of course, rook g3, queen d4. What else is there even? Rook c2, but that doesn't really do anything after rook g3. F6 can maybe even... F6 is probably possible. But I think rook d8 makes a lot of sense. Oh my god, I thought I hung my rook for a second. I got really terrified. Now the question is, what do I do after rook d1? Rook d1, maybe rook c2, and if rook g3, then queen e5. D takes e5, rook d1 is mate, actually. So that's kind of funny. Maybe that's an idea. Just hit him with the cheap trick. So if rook d1, rook c2, rook g3. Oh, I can't go queen e5 because of queen d8 check. Damn. Yeah, that's a good move. I'm wondering if I can play rook d6. Okay, I don't know. That move looks dumb. I want to play rook d6 with the idea of rook g3, queen e5, and just like take his king on a massive walk towards the center. Okay, I think that actually works. So I'm gonna play this move. It's unbelievably artificial. Like it's just the worst possible chess move. Okay. But he falls for it, I think. And I think he's just getting getting kind of hammered here. Yeah, well, I guess what I calculated is that it's really hard for his king to find good squares because anytime he walks up to the 4th rank, rook c4 and queen h4. So d takes e5, rook takes d1, king f2, rook c2, king e3, rook e1 is the line I looked at. And it's actually hard to find moves. King d3, bishop f5 check, forces queen e4 or else it's mate. Yeah, correct. Okay. I thought his... And I think king f3, rook f1, king e3, rook e1 is the same line. So there aren't actually many lines to calculate. So if king f3, rook f1, yeah, okay. I think he might have missed that bishop f5 is just going to be game over. Oh god, I thought I had something here. Oh no, did I miscalculate? Oh no. So rook. Shoot. Rook d1, king e3 forced, rook d3, king f4. Okay, so, okay. Oh my god, that was terrifying. What am I doing? That was a huge miscalculation by me, but okay. I did not even see king d4. Yikes. Okay, but it looks like it's working out okay. That check, king f5. This check, king f5, g6, king f6. No. Okay, I guess I have to check this way. So my rook isn't hanging on d3 at the end of all this. Yeah, I'm just going to take here. Hallelujah for 5-second increments. This game is a very much a scumbag game because rook d6 is not a good move if he just ignores it. But, you know, sometimes you see a tactical idea, you just have to do it. I don't feel good about this one, though. I'll tell you that. All right, let's just play a move. Actually, let's go here and just threaten g6 mate. He might have to go e6, but then probably I'll just take with the rook and force him to trade rooks, and that's winning too. Yeah, I'm not at all proud of this game, but I like the tactical idea. It wasn't. It was like, I guess it was winning, but I didn't see everything, which is kind of embarrassing. Oh yeah, that move's kind of good. Let's do this, and then I'll play rook c4 check. Oh, he has king g3. I'm kind of misplaying this. Nice rook, idiot. This thing is dumb. All right, I don't know why he's going to continue to play. I mean, okay, h5 is just going to sort out all of my problems here, but he just wants to annoy me. Okay. Maybe he didn't realize there was a 5-second ink. Well, let's take a look at that embarrassment. All right, let's toss this into a study. I do think there needs to be a little bit better integration with studies so that after a game I can just create a study right away. But that's okay. I'm sure that kind of stuff will come. All right. So this is the Rubinstein French. Knight f3 is almost compulsory. You can see in the database over, like 90% of the games start with knight f3. Black just wants to go knight g to f6, and after knight f6 be able to recapture with the knight. That's pretty much the whole idea. And usual is knight takes f6 check, knight takes f6 check, and then there are a whole host of moves. And Black's main strategy really is to immediately counterpunch in the center with c5. So Black exchanges the d-pawn for the e-pawn and concedes a slight space disadvantage and still has to deal with this bishop. But the general plan is to kind of try and equalize by force by going c5, exchanging off my c-pawn for the d-pawn, a non-center pawn for a center pawn, and then go b6, bishop b7, when this bishop is actually incredibly powerful on this diagonal. And this is a system where if Black equalizes, he tends to equalize fully. Like, he liquidates in the center one time, and then he'll liquidate in the center again. And he'll put all of his pieces on natural squares, and the position tends to be very level when it's level. And the usual main lines are bishop d3, c5, I think d takes c5, bishop takes c5, castles, castles, queen e2, and then Black keeps the strategy going with bishop b7. And actually, after bishop g5, it looks kind of annoying. After bishop b7, rook a to d1, White has a massive threat of bishop takes h7, and this pin is kind of irritating, but it turns out that Black can just allow the shattering of his structure with bishop takes f6, g takes f6, because material's reduced. White has a hard time because queen e4 is not possible, because this knight doesn't really have any good jumps. All of these squares are well controlled. It's not easy for White to really capitalize on anything. And after rook f to d8 and bishop f8 to bishop g7 usually, Black has very few issues. And you can see it's really not at all easy for White to win from here. 17% win, so that's one idea. The other line that became really popular was the so-called Kasparov line with 7c3. The idea is that after c5 to play knight e5, and all of a sudden things like queen a4 and bishop b5 become really irritating. Specifically, bishop b5 is irritating, so Black normally plays a6. And after bishop e3, so threatening to take this thing, queen c7. Now if takes, of course, e5 is hanging. Queen a4 check, knight f to d7. We see another point that White can go bishop b5. This is an interesting line. I think Black is also pretty much equal here, but it takes a lot of work. So the lines are long and forcing, but they usually lead to endgames that are pretty solid for Black. Okay, but bishop g5 is a move. And I think bishop e7 is more typically reached from the French burn, but I don't know that. I don't know that for sure. I was pretty sure that h6, bishop h4, bishop e7 was the main move, but now that I see that c5 is possible, maybe I should think about this instead. So c5, knight f6, knight f6. There are a bunch of moves here, but none of them seem particularly great. Yeah, maybe this is a little bit more active than what I got. I wonder if here White should take on f6 check. Yeah, probably, because after this, maybe bishop d3, castle, castle, c5 perhaps, or c5 right away. There is queen e2 in this position. And then if c5, there's maybe castles long, or d takes c5 first. Yeah, interesting. So, yeah, maybe c5 here, but then takes, then queen a5 check. Somehow this feels a little better for White to me. I'll have to look into this line. This is one, like I said, I don't know that much about. I was kind of winging it. But somehow allowing me to trade on e4 like this and get my queen to e7 doesn't seem like the best way. Yeah, knight f6. So if bishop d3, I was looking at queen b4 check. Queen d2 takes, castles, probably castles. It's kind of dicey. Yeah, if a4 with this threat, queen b6 is pretty much forced. White has compensation here. So white at some point will probably go c4 and rook f to e1, rook a to b1, possibly even, whoops, a5. Oh, I'm screwing this up bad. Okay. Yeah, and I still have this horrible bishop, so it seems like white in this case would have pretty good compensation, actually. Do I have a view for this? Oh, man, check that out. Believe it. If only I did that at the starting. Okay. But it seemed like I should take on e4 first. That makes some sense. And then take on b2 if I want to do this. I wonder if there was something instead, though. So let's just say I don't even want to mess with this. Takes, maybe just castles. Is this possible? The problem is if you don't take it, you're kind of just saying, yeah, like, you're kind of just saying, okay, I'm going to play the same plan, but without being up a pawn, except maybe I have one extra move or something. But even in this position, it's not even clear that I like my queen on e7 more than I like my queen on b2, like, because it's loose to this kind of stuff. Yeah, so maybe I'm sort of forced to do this. But it seems good for black. I mean, I thought rook b8 was a strong move. And I think after this, it's starting to look like maybe it's doubtful that white has full compensation. But it is sharp. I mean, f4 seemed maybe a little bit dubious to me because it's just a little bit weakening. And I don't think it actually does that much for white's attack. But what else is there? Maybe rook f... Yeah, it's not easy. Maybe if you want to put a rook on e3, rook a to e1 is better. With this idea. Man, queen a2. And queen c3, wow. I mean, this seems extremely risky for black. I don't think I would take on c3 and allow rook e3 to g3 with tempo. Okay, queen d2, rook g3, let's say. h5. Come on, Stockfish. I get it. I mean, h5 intending to go queen h6. But you can see this is the type of position where computers think it's fine at first, and then the more you let them think and the more you play it out, the more they think it's a really bad idea. So something like queen c3, a computer will think, and at small depths it's like, yeah, this seems pretty good. I'm up 2 pawns. But after rook e3, after 2 more moves, all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you're in big trouble. So you have to be kind of careful. Yeah, I don't think this is a good idea. Probably b6 is the better way to go. After rook e3, yeah, maybe bishop b7, or yeah, maybe c5. It does seem like black needs to get c5 in quickly just to kind of loosen up this d4 pawn. I don't like queen d3 much at all. It's not clear to me that the queen is really all that well placed on h3, and I feel like I've gained just too much time. I even wonder if here maybe I could go... whoop. Nope, didn't want to do that. c5, rook, knight d7. So I keep forgetting that this is a threat. So rook b to c8. Rook a to e1, c5. I think this move is critical. Is there anything to be said for queen a3 here instead? If f5 takes, same way as the game, basically. I guess I am still watching c3 in this case, though. So probably... knight c4 first, huh? Not intuitive. Yeah, okay, I don't like this as much. But it is worth considering. It doesn't seem like a bad move. No, yeah, computer likes queen d5. This is obviously probably the more obvious and natural move to a lot of people, but for some reason bishop d5 was calling my name. This thing is very well centralized. Protects f7, attacks g2, etc. Yeah, I mean, this seems bad. This seems bad for black, or for white. Compensation looking dubious. Yeah. So this move is probably better. But I think this move is quite good also. I was just trying to be safe. I'm not sure about queen e4, because if you have to go to h4, wouldn't you rather not give me queen d5 for free and just go to a square that's similar to h4 right away? Like, just put your queen on h5? Oh, bishop c4 is good? Really? Ah, can I just... Maybe he didn't want to go here because of f6. Ah, but there's queen g6. Queen g6. I get it. So you go bishop c4 first, and if something like rook e1, then f6, because queen g6 no longer hits the bishop. Ba-dum-bum. That's slick. That is rude. Yeah, that is nice. Okay. I'm not sure rook c7 is the best move, but I liked it. Preparing to double, perhaps. Protecting f7 and possibly guarding against stuff like knight g6 to e7, or even just guarding g7 in general in the event of f6. Rook d8. Of course, this thing is very weak. And my counterplay against d4 slows down his kingside attack and sort of discombobulates his attacking force. So he would, of course, rather have this rook on f1, but he has to go rook d1, and he also has to kind of keep the queen looking at this thing, so... Okay, so now I go rook d6, which is no doubt a dubious... Like, this move is a scumbag move at its best. But I saw this idea... I mean, I saw clearly that he wanted to go rook g3, and I saw this idea of queen e5 when I get to walk his king out. And I miscalculated here slightly, actually. I thought... it's one of those... I make this visualization error sometimes where I think my pieces after I move them are still on their like original squares, and sometimes that leads me to think they're doing like double duty. So I looked at this and I saw check, king e3, check. And I assumed that after this, bishop d5 was killing him, which does indeed look to be the case, because he has to walk out to f4 and then he loses to some check and take. So this would be winning. And I also saw that check here, king d3, bishop f5. I thought that my rook was both on d1 and e1 at the same time, and that his only move would be queen e4, which is not the case. I totally missed this, which is unfortunate, but it turns out that I got lucky. I mean, okay, black's pieces are very well coordinated, and even if for some reason this did not win immediately, I would still have a very good rook, bishop, and pawn for the queen. And with his king in the center, I think I would be pretty much winning anyway. But luckily after king d4, my pieces were well placed enough such that I can win anyway. I did look at this, but I didn't see what to do. I didn't like the look of this. So if check in here, rook c6. And if here, rook e6 is mate. I did not see this. Yeah, that's pretty nice. So rook c4 also wins, but I didn't want to leave my... I saw this line, and I was not as excited about it because this looked really irritating, of course, when rook d8 and f7 is hanging, all that kind of stuff. So it seemed like probably maybe I'm still winning here, but it doesn't look nearly as good. But luckily I have this rook instead when the rook isn't hanging at the end. And now he's just down a rook. I mean, he could have resigned in clear conscience here, but he didn't. Then I sort of played like an idiot and got my rook trapped on h4, but that's okay. Okay, and then he resigned. So not the smoothest technique by me at all, but a funny sacrificial idea, and yeah. I can't call it a swindle because I was likely winning anyway, but I played this rook d6 move because I thought if he fell forward, it would significantly ease my defensive task. So I gave it a shot. It doesn't really hurt my position that much, but yeah, okay. Well, humorous. All right, I promise, guys, I will be back with some educational content soon. Perhaps even next video. I just got to find the time to record it. It takes much longer to record those videos, so I have to, do some preparation. And I've been out of town, and truth be told, I've been a little lazy, so. Okay, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I will be back with more. Bye.